our childhood, we have like developmental milestones that we're supposed to hit. And either we hit those markers through development and they cause us to have adaptive beliefs about ourselves and about the world, or they cause us to have what we call negative core belief. So Tati, what you were talking about earlier about connections and attachment, there's like the same neurons that fire together, wire together. So in your brain it's like a circuit, right? If the person, when someone hurts me, right, I'm supposed to be able to go to my people and be like, hey, console me, hook me up, help me understand. But I'm kind of in a double bind if the person who hurt me is also the person that I'm supposed to go to for support, to tell about that. So you have, I'm telling you, like, that's the trauma, right? That the negative core belief is like, I'm not good enough. If I wait for dad, and I would say this is a good question for like everybody, but for you specifically. So if I waited for dad every day, he always said he was gonna pick me up. Then one time he picked me up and we had a blast, you know, right? Later on in life, that could show up in my relationships as constantly waiting for me. And one day he's gonna show up, 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 right? And then we tolerate mistreatment. I would say look at it both ways. Identify, my approach in therapy is always identify both ways. How did this hurt me, right? So if you could think about 3 things that your relationship with your mom and dad, but with my father, like how did, 3 ways, how did the relationship affect me, right? And I might say, on a depending on how you look at it, I'm gonna say on a not so helpful, and I might say I'm a perfectionist, right? Because you said you're a perfectionist. On a not so helpful way, I'm a perfectionist, right? In a helpful way, I'm independent. I'm self-sustaining. Look at both ways. Identify what you need to work on, and identify how has this experience, what has this taught me about me. I'm self-reliant, I can do things by myself, I can figure things out, I'm smart, right? And then we have that as like a resource of what we use to build ourselves up, and then we have our other side where we can say, okay, what ways is being a perfectionist getting in the way? I can also still pull perfectionism to the other side. How is this helpful? I have high standards, I have high expectations. I like to get things done and have structure, depending on how you look at it. But pull it apart and look at both ways. How has my relationship, not dad, not what he did, the relationship, how he's treated me, what the interactions are. So there's like a scripture, I'm not super religious, but I do like scripture. There's like a scripture that says, train up a child in the way that he should go. And when he gets older, he will not depart. Mm-hmm. That is about the relationship. Nah, you take your kids to church every day and they gonna go to church forever. Believe, what is the relationship teaching me about myself and the world? Is the world trustworthy? Can I trust myself? Things like that that become like a rooted trauma. So you're gonna look at that stuff to heal. You're gonna look at that stuff to evolve from. Not to say whatever. Sometimes it's causal, but you can rewire the brain.